What is happening, everybody? This is the Flow Show. I'm Sean McLaughlin. He's Steve Straza. What's happening? How was your weekend, Straza?
My weekend was good. How was yours? I was just thinking to myself, tough week for Colorado football.
Well, it was tough watching the Colorado Buffaloes get destroyed by Oregon. That was no fun. I couldn't care less about the Broncos, and I certainly don't care about the Dolphins. So that game
Yeah,
did not fly on my radar. Although
no,
70 points, wow. Woo!
it's a good thing for you that you're not a Broncos fan, considering the Dolphins fandom within the All Star Charts community. You would have heard it today from JC.
Yeah, nope. The Broncos don't matter to me or in this house, so all good. We fly a Bills flag out the front of our house.
Yeah, next week will be fun. I saw a
Yeah.
meme on Twitter. It said, talking about the Broncos Dolphins game, it said, Colorado football team hasn't got whooped this bad in one day since yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that too. Good stuff. All right, so this is not the football hour. This is Follow the Flow report, and this is where we dig into the unusual options activity that Straza and his team has uncovered to see if that can lead us down a rabbit hole to any interesting trades. This is a fully improvised show. I don't know what tickers we're going to be talking about when we go here. Straza is trying to stump me and see if we can come put together a trade.
You know what I love about you, Sean? That your default chart on Thinkorswim here is the volatility index, like a true options trader, right?
Well, all right, let's talk about that. And I
Yeah,
brought it up for a reason. And it's because we've had a notable spike in the VIX over the last, let's call it 7 trading days.
sure.
And, that's notable. And we're back up to the 17 handle. We got as high as an 18 handle on Friday. These are not alarming levels by any stretch of the imagination, especially when you look at my chart and you can see that we were as high as the mid 30s this time last year. But in relative terms, compared to where we've come from from just a week or two ago, volatility has been notably rising. And does that mean that there's a trade that we should be out there just selling premium blindly? No. But to me, what this tells me is that this is signaling that the market is a little uneasy about what's going on. Is it because of the stock market selling off a little bit? Is it because earnings season is coming up? Or something else? Either way, the VIX is telling us that we need to at least be paying attention. We need to be managing risk a little better. And we need to be a little bit more selective, especially if we are interested in getting long in this tape. How'd I do?
Listen, it was a notable spike, right? Really here this morning, testing its highest level since late May, late second half of the year. I I think we need to keep in mind it's still September, right? Seasonality is not a tailwind right now. In fact, it's a headwind. The roughest time of the year. And then seasonals do turn up into the end of the year in the fourth quarter, but we got to get there first. And the price action, all these multi-month lows. I'm sitting here this morning. I'm charting out all the major indexes and the large cap sector spiders. And there's just a lot of short-term tops and a lot of things testing or hitting new multi-month lows. Not what you want to see. It begs the question, if these are short-term reversal patterns, how big of a leg down do we get, right? What does this corrective action look like when it's all said and done? I don't think it's done yet. So we got to continue to monitor it.
Right, and we will dig into this flow report in a second. And it's raising my eyebrow that everything on that board is green. But before we get there, I mentioned on the morning show this morning, you guys just wanted to talk about uranium. But look, last week I was of the mind, at least pre-Fed, that I wanted to start dipping my toes in the water on some long trades, at least on stocks that were showing signs of being leaders in the next bull run, because I wasn't saying that the next bull run was coming, but it could happen at any moment and the leaders are going to take us there. And I was just feeling like, okay, we can start dipping our toes in the water. But the way the market has acted or reacted since the latest Fed meeting last week, I've retreated. I'm back. I'm back in the sideways for longer mentality right now. I still want to be looking at as an options trader, putting on delta neutral bets. I don't want to be getting aggressively bullish here. I don't even want to be getting conservatively bullish here. I'm looking sideways for now. So that brings me to the follow the flow report. I'm looking at all the options activity, and across the board, it's all bullish. What's going on here, Straz? Are you noticing anything that's sticking out?
Yeah, no bearish flow. I guess options traders were buying the dip last week. Look, we have been focusing a lot and talking a lot about the very few groups that are still working, whether it be uranium, coal, some stuff, some other groups in energy. Um, but not really any of that on our list today. We did have Sabanye Stillwater. You remember that name? STS.
Sabanya, I love that. It's such a weird word.
Art looks terrible still. And they're more industrial metals. It says gold here, but they're a conglomerate, mining conglomerate. The one that really stood out today, you got to zoom out a little bit for this one, but we talked about the HPQ on the morning show this morning. This is HPE, so this is like the enterprise software or like communication services side of Hewlett Packard's business. This is a nice big base, but you got to buy it on strength. I don't think it's ready. We failed up here before at this 1750, 1760 level. You zoom out on your chart, you'll see the pivot highs that we have marked up with arrows here on mine. But they were going out to January and hitting the $20 calls. So out of the money, seems like a bullish bet. Are these guys betting on like a base breakout here? Going out to the 20s, stocks at 1750 right now.
Well, here's my initial thought, and this is just my amateur technical analysis here, is when I look at the chart that you've got right there,
Yeah,
I look at that and say, oh man, if this thing breaks out, it's going to go on a really nice run.
yeah.
But I look at your x-axis and I see, oh man, you're looking at 6 years of data right there. So if it does run, is it going to make a big run from now until January? I, I don't think so. I think that's too short term. I think,
I agree.
I think over the next 6 months, 6 to 12 months, yeah, maybe we make a run into the mid 20s. Based on what I'm looking at this chart, of course, that's just the chart's just telling us the history, right? It doesn't tell us the future. But I don't know. I feel like aggressively buying January calls here, especially at the 20 strike, feels a little aggressive to me.
Listen, if it already went, right, and we had like some sort of a decisive resolution above this resistance level, I'd say, okay, they're betting on an automatic reaction, an initial leg higher, and that kind of works. But we've seen these massive bases before. They're some of our favorite patterns, and they do take time. And this one has yet to complete, right? We're still coiling right up here. It looks juicy, it looks good, but it hasn't happened yet. It could happen tomorrow, it could happen next week, it could happen next month. But I think January, you're right, doesn't quite give you enough time for a price pattern like this.
You know what I'm thinking here is maybe, and we don't talk about this a lot, but maybe, we've seen some weakness in technology stocks in the technology sector overall. And the bears right now, generally speaking, have reason to be a little bit optimistic based on what's been going on in the markets lately. Maybe what's happening, Straza, is somebody actually is getting aggressively short HPE and they're using the calls as a hedge. What do you think about that?
Could always be the case, but can't overthink that kind of stuff because we just don't know.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. All right. Well, I'm not buying those 20 calls in January. I'm not, going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm not feeling aggressively bullish on anything right now. Certainly not buying January 20 calls in HPE. I could be wrong, and I'll be happy to be wrong for the people who are long this stock, but that's not a play for me.
Listen, it's not ready. Wait for the breakout. If we're above 1760, I'll be talking about this one a lot differently. But
Yeah,
in,
I agree.
in this tape, Sean, where things are not breaking out, stocks are making new multi-month lows. Do you want to bet on one of the? Yeah, it looks better than most, but do you really want to bet on a breakout sticking and materializing here right now? We're talking about the VIX at
Yeah.
highs.
If anything, mean reversion traders are being rewarded in this type of tape, which is a whole different skill set than what we usually talk about here.
What do you think about Uber?
Also a good chart. I would like it a lot more above 50, I think, but That's a chart to keep an eye on. This is one of those charts. Like going back to my attitude last week is I'm keeping an eye on all these stocks that are holding up pretty well in this challenging tape, this challenging summer. And I look at a chart like Uber here, and I'm like, okay, that's one I'm filing away. I'm going to remember this one because when the market steadies, this could be one of the next leaders for sure.
Can I just say how much I love this stock, or really more so the business of Uber? This is now a great American brand. Am I wrong? This is one of the most recognizable brands among people who are going to be spending money in our economy for a long time.
I agree. I mean, Uber has completely transformed an industry, which is not nothing, right? Like that's pretty, and it did it very quickly. I mean, Uber started in what, 2008, 2009 at the depths of the financial crisis.
We were talking about it as a disruptor and a tech startup not long ago. Remember, they had all those, early growing pains that companies have. Travis Kalanick had to leave, but he built a monster here. And I think this is a great long-term hold. You got the base completed. You see the 200-day moving average now sloping higher. Momentum in a bullish regime. I like this one a lot.
I don't know if you know this, Straza, but so when I lived in Chicago, Chicago was the second market that Uber opened in. Obviously, they started in San Francisco. That's where they first started offering rides. Chicago was the second market, and at the time, my wife worked for a big advertising agency in Chicago, and Uber's way to kind of get known in Chicago. One of the ways that they did that was they handed out like business cards, which were basically good for free rides on Uber, but they gave them to they gave stacks of these to people who worked in ad agencies.
Right.
And the people in ad agencies, because they know everybody in town, were just handing these things out. And so my wife had a ton of these things. And in the first year that Uber was in Chicago, I rode Uber all the time because I rode it for free. And back then, Uber was all they offered was black car service, and the driver wears like white gloves, and they'd open the door for you, and it was like super fancy. Like I felt like the big shot in town because I always had these free Uber rides everywhere. I mean, I felt like a big deal.
Oh, that's too funny. They've come a long way.
They've come a long way, but yeah, and also during that time period, or soon after, when I was working for Howard Lindzen and I had cocktails one night at a bar in Chicago, and one of the early guys from Uber joined us, and we were having cocktails. And this was very early days, and man, had I known that guy would have turned out to be a billionaire, I might have been nicer to him.
I mean, yeah, they started out as a black car service, like you said, and now they're delivering me pizza at night.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I agree, man. Great. It is a great success story. It has its challenges, of course, in many markets, mostly because entrenched players like the taxi cabs don't like giving up their business. But hey, their business sucks, and Uber showed them a better way, and they deserve the business. And
it,
I'm rooting for them. Does that mean I have a trade in it right now? No, but I I love the brand.
Full disclosure, I am long. I've been long really since earlier this year. I bought this reversal. This is one I'm going to tuck away. This one's in my IRA. I don't want to think too much about it. Fundamentally, they're doing great. This is not one of those, not profitable tech stories. These guys are making they're printing money actually. So I like everything that's going on over there. It was a sleepy list today, so I'm kind of glad we went this way with it. But I don't think it's the time to be making like aggressive directional bets via options, right? There are times when I want to do that. I'm doing it all day. This is just not one of those environments. So, and that's
Right. And look, we traders, we have the luxury of not having to trade when we don't want to, when the setups aren't there. We're not on any kind of mandate that we have to trade. And maybe this doesn't make for great TV, but this is not the environment to be getting aggressively long in, nor do I feel like it's the environment to be getting aggressively short. It's just kind of a wait and see market. I've been kind of saying over the last few weeks that I feel like we need to wait for the next earnings season to really kick in for the market to declare which way it's going to go.
Right.
So I'm on wait and see.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the chat real quick. Oh, look at this, Sean. There's a significant volume difference between the two of you. Izzy, we'll have to check that out. We're doing our best over here. We do a lot of videos.
Yeah. I mean, part of it might be your microphone's a little further away from your mic than mine, but I don't think that's the big reason.
Ryan says NXE is up 5% today. Oh, I know it. Uh, we are watching these uranium stocks. That's for sure.
Look at this weekly chart I got here on my chart right now, NXC. That I mean, it's hard not to like that one. And we are long. The one of the few longs that are working in this tape.
Again, just as a this is a huge technical tenet. It's something we see over and over and over again in periods of volatility when most stocks are not working, or like we talked about, making new multi-month lows, VIX making multi-month highs. Search for strength, search for relative strength, find those pockets of strength, those stocks that are still bucking the trend and going higher despite broader market weakness. Because when things turn around, these are the names you want to be in. Shit, we're in them now and they're working. So imagine when this volatility kind of cools or passes, these stocks are really hot right now.
Yeah, and this one we've talked about this in the past, but this one definitely qualifies as a hard trade. Like that, if you're not in this now, you look at that chart and you're like, oof, I don't know if I could buy this thing. It's due for a pullback. But
Yeah.
these hard charts sometimes turn out to be the best winners. I mean, just look at Honda Motor Corp. That thing ripped for us, and that was definitely a hard trade. In fact, it looked a lot like this when we got into it. So we're long the February 7 calls in NXC. We got some time for this to play out, and if this thing rips, we're gonna get some nice leveraged gains on this one.
This is like a melt up situation. This thing
Yeah.
is just
Well, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for letting us do a victory lap on this trade. Although it's way too early to be doing a victory lap, but off to a good start. All right, guys, this has been the Flow Show. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back next week. In the meantime, you can catch me and Straza and JC and the whole gang back on the morning show tomorrow morning at 8:30, 8 a.m. No, 8:30 Eastern. I get confused because I'm in a different time zone than you guys. 8:30 Eastern. We'll see you there. Take care, everybody.
all right. Have a great week, everybody.